In this video, I'll show you how I built a fully automated system that creates AI-generated short videos with consistent characters across scenes, realistic visuals, and voiceovers, all using a no-code n8n workflow. The sample short I made is just 20 seconds long, but you could easily scale this to 1 minute or even longer. The cost? Around $1 for a 20-second short, and about $3 for a full minute, depending on the models and tools you choose. All in all, not bad for something that can run entirely on autopilot.
Why did I think I could beat this level without food? Bad move. Can you burn water? 'Cause I think I'm about to find out.
So before we dive in, please hit that subscribe button and give this video a like. It really helps get this content in front of more people like you. And if you'd like access to full workflow JSON, just drop a comment below. So this workflow starts with a manual chat trigger, and that kicks everything off. The first AI call is an LLM chain that uses ChatGPT to generate a description of two main characters, detailed prompts for each scene, descriptive actions for video movement, and the dialogue for each scene. All of this will be saved into a Google Sheet, which can become the control panel for the entire automation. And here is the prompt. So we're generating characters A and character B, and we're going to maintain character consistency throughout the video. Once everything is saved into a Google Sheet, we are going to create a Google Drive folder to hold all the outputs. These are the character renders, the scene images, the audio, and the final videos. Next, we have to share the video publicly so that our future nodes and API calls can reference the files that we saved in this folder. And let me show you the Google Sheet as well. Now from here, the workflow is going to split into two because we need to generate two characters. To generate the characters, I'm using the MiniMax model from Replicate. MiniMax is a fairly cheap model at 1 cent per image that has character reference support. So we call the Replicate MiniMax model to generate a consistent portrait-style image for each. Each branch has a wait node, which checks whether the image generation has completed or not. If the image generation is complete, it moves on to the next node, and the same thing goes for character B. Before moving on, let me just dive into MiniMax and show you what parameters you need from here. So you need to go to replicate.com, grab your API key, and if you click HTTP over here under MiniMax, we'll see this is the structure of the data that you need to send. This is the URL. You need to make a post request, and here is the data that you're sending. Once the characters are generated, we merge both inputs back into one. We have two items with both output URLs for each character, and then we use the aggregate node, and the aggregate node combines all of this into a single data point. Because we have two items here, and if we continue moving two items along the entire chain, that means every node is going to be executed twice, and we don't want that to happen. So that's why we need to aggregate the two items and combine them into one item in order for our workflow to move along correctly. Next up, we reread the Google Sheet since the original trigger may be too far back in the chain, and then we use a code node to clean up and restructure the data. So the output is going to be an array of objects with the scene number, the video prompt, the dialogue text, and the character reference. This structure is going to help us loop through each scene and generate each scene individually, save it to a Google Drive, and finally pull all that data back and feed everything into a video template software. Next up, we want to loop through all of the scenes. So for each scene, we are going to generate a scene image. Then we're going to generate the dialogues. And finally, we are going to generate the videos. And if you notice, the output from the code node has 4 items. But the reason we're using a loop is we want to treat each item individually. If I didn't have this loop in place and this was going directly to generate scenes, it would generate 4 scenes all together, and that just makes keeping track of all of the data very messy. Plus, it can really eat up into your API limits. Now, the reason the loop output is showing 4 items as well is because I'm showing you a completed run, which means it executed a total of 4 items. The first time you do this, it's only going to be 1. So the first thing that we're going to do is we are going to use replicate again. And in replicate, we're going to pass the character prompt, the scene prompt, and we're also going to pass the subject reference, which is the earlier character that we had generated over here. Once that's done, we go back to a wait node, wait a few seconds, check to see if the scene is generated. And once the scene is generated, you go ahead and download that image with another HTTP call and upload that image to the Google Drive folder that we had created earlier. And we're going to save each image as scene-1, scene-2, scene-3. And we're keeping track of the count because the code node is outputting the scene number as well. Once all of the scenes are uploaded, the next thing is to generate the dialogues or the voiceovers. So we're going to use 11 Labs and pop over to the 11 Labs documentation. And if you go into 11 Labs and find the text-to-speech API reference, you'll see that we need to make a post reference here, add your voice ID over here, which you can find from the 11 Labs dashboard. And all we need to send is the text and the model ID. So we're going to pull all of that from the loop node, which got the information from the code node. Once the dialog is generated, the output is going to be an MP3 file. And that MP3 file is then saved again to the Google Drive folder, again as dialog-1, dialog-2, dialog-3, so on and so forth. Once the scenes have been generated and the dialogues have been generated, the next step is video generation. And for video generation, I'm using Pi API, and the model I'm using is Hailuo. Hailuo is pretty decent. The outputs are pretty good, and it's fairly cheap as well, around around $20 for a 5-second video. So if we go back, we need to make an API call to Pi API. And here's the documentation. This is the URL that we need to make the post request to. And if you scroll down below, you will see the body of the request that we need to send. We need to choose the correct model. All the models are priced the same. Passing the image URL from the Google Drive output that we got. This is the image that the video generation is going to start from. And we also need to pass in the prompt as well. And that prompt is also found from our Google Sheet and code nodes. Once we call the generate video endpoint, it takes around 5 or 6 minutes for Hailuo and Pi API to get this done. So we're going to add a wait node, and we're going to wait for 7 minutes just to be safe. And once that wait node is done, it's going to check by making a GET request to that to Pi API with the task ID that we created earlier. And if the GET request shows that the task is succeeded, it moves on, downloads the video, and finally uploads the video as scene-1.mp4, scene-2.mp4, so on and so forth. Now, this entire loop is going to run 4 times because I have my settings set to 4 scenes. But if you had 6 scenes or 8 scenes or 10 scenes or however many scenes, the loop would continue running and your Google Drive folder would have all of your outputs saved. And the importance of saving everything to Google Drive as everything is generated is that at least you'll hold on to any outputs that were successful. Otherwise, you're going to lose access to those as well. Now, the last part is to merge everything together. So once the entire loop is done, we're going to exit the loop through the done node. So once we exit the loop through the done node, we're going to call that same folder that we had created earlier, and we're going to get a list of all the files that live inside that folder. Now, this is currently outputting 48 items because the done node is passing 4 items, and there are 12 files inside the Google Drive that we had saved. So it has a 48 item output. And there's 2 ways to solve this. One way is to add an aggregate node over here. But since I only need 8 of those 12 files, I'm just going to let it pass all 48 items. And then I use the code node to clean that up and only get these particular items, because all we need is the scene video file and the dialogue audio file. And you also need the code node because when you search for when you search Google Drive for particular files or folders, it only returns the ID. It does not return the path. So we actually need to create the path using the code node. So we already know that all the URLs typically follow this format, except the ID is going to be different. So what this code node does is it passes the name and it replaces the ID in the URL. So we have all of our unique URLs ready to go. And once that code node is done, we're going to aggregate these 8 items into a single list called data. And finally, we pass that off to Creatomate. Now I have Creatomate. You can use a free account for low res renders. You can also use a paid account if you want high res renders. Even if you do have a paid account, it's like $50 for around 200 videos. So it's still pretty cheap at scale. And what you want to do is you want to go ahead into templates and you want to create a new template. I'm going to show you the template that I have. It's basically 4 scenes and each scene has a voiceover. Make sure that the provider is URL. It also has subtitles, which are automatic, and it also has an image. Now, the placeholder is image, but you can pass in image files and you can also pass in video files. Both are going to work. Just make sure that the provider is a URL and make sure the number of scenes corresponds to the number of scenes that you have generated. Once all of that is done, just go ahead and click use template, go to API integration and just grab this entire API call. And let's go back into n8n and we'll see how this API call is working. So we're passing the authentication and we're also passing in the body. The template ID was already saved in when we grabbed the template, when we grabbed the code from Creatomate, and then just drag over these sources for your images and your voiceovers. So scene 1, drag it in, scene 1 dialog, drag it in. And once you have completed all of these placeholders, you're all done. So you can just go ahead and hit save. Your entire workflow is done. Once the entire workflow completes, it makes a call to Creatomate. And when you go into Creatomate, you can go into your API log and see where what the status on these files are. Now, I had already completed this a few days ago. I'm just getting around to recording this video now. Now, while I have stopped my workflow over here, you can add a timer, you can add a wait node, and then execute a get request um, back with this task ID and check whether the status is completed or succeeded. Once the status is done, you can make another HTTP request and download the video from the URL that you get over here and save that to Google Drive, push that to YouTube, push that to Instagram, or do whatever you need to do with that video. So that wraps up this tutorial. If you want to get a copy of this workflow, please drop a comment and I'll be more than happy to share it with you. And if you enjoyed this video, once again, I'd really appreciate it if you give a like and subscribe to the channel for more on AI and automation.